You're listening to the Global Ed Podcast, where educators share inspiring and thought-provoking stories from around the world.
In this episode of the podcast, I'm speaking with Octavius Colquhoun, a principal of a primary school located in Philippi, which is a township located on the outskirts of Cape Town, South Africa. Welcome to the Global Ed Podcast, Octavius.
Thank you, Gavin. It's great to be here.
Now, as we get started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
I am Octavius Colquhoun. I'm the head of a small primary school in Philippi, which is in Cape Town, South Africa. I've been at the school for coming up for 10 years, and I'm very excited about our school and, where it's going, and all the kind of day-to-day challenges we face are sometimes tricky, but it's enormously rewarding.
Cape Town, South Africa. Some call it the most beautiful city in the world. But here, postcard-perfect landscapes collide with a past that's anything but idyllic. And depending on who you are, the Cape Town you experience can be very different. Realities so physically close to each other, yet a world away.
Now, your school is based in Philippi, which is an area that would be traditionally described as a township. So could you tell me, what is life like for the people who live there?
You're looking at very densely populated area. It's very underserved in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of policing. So it's quite lawless, and it's a place of violence, I would say. And there's gangs, there's extortion rackets, there's shootouts, so a lot of children in Philippi have grown up immersed in that kind of reality. And I would say that most households, there's a trauma that is just kind of normalized and probably not even identified, that people grow up with and just internalize. And also kind of a wisdom and a streetwise sense of, how to negotiate the spaces. So, our children who come to us, you often find that there's, hidden traumas that will come out, while they're at school. And what we tend to do is check-ins, regular check-ins, because things can happen over the weekends or things can happen at night. And when we started the school, we had a big focus on sort of using academics to propel ourselves out of this difficult area. But we've kind of shifted our focus to look more at wellness, so that we are able to, that our children are able to cope living in the area.
Can you tell me about the school and how it serves the children from that area?
Our school is called iThemba Labantu Primary School. We built it sort of year by year. So when I began, it was just me and 25 children in grade 1. And then the following year, they went up to grade 2. And then the following year, grade 3, and so on. So we opened it grade by grade, year by year. And we are, at the moment, we're all the way up to grade 9, but we're just 200 children. So one class is a grade, and that's it. So these children are, they're registered. Our school is registered. They must come to school every day. We've got a full program from 8 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But we also share the community center with other children who come in the afternoons for after-school services. So children from state schools in Philippi, they arrive in the late afternoon, and then they join after-school programs like music, dance, homework, things like that. But we tend to run our primary school slightly separated from the other children who come in the afternoons.
When the school was formed, did you have a particular purpose or aim in mind? And what was your approach to achieving that?
Our goal as a school is to provide quality education, given that we've got good funding from abroad and we get a government subsidy. We want to provide an alternative model to state education in Philippi so that households, instead of going to the city, sending their children to the city for quality education, can consider us. We are very affordable and we're in walking distance from most of our households. And we are kind of modeled on what a private school would look like. So small ratios of teacher to learner compared to state schools. So, the state schools, especially in Philippi, you're looking at 50, 60, 70 children in a classroom. Whereas we have a ceiling of 25 learners in the classroom. And then we also have sports facilities. We've got soccer fields. We've got netball courts. We've even got an indoor sports facility. We've got computer labs. These are all things that you don't really find these in the state schools in the area.
You mentioned that you're looking to provide a quality education to your students, and it seems like you've got some facilities there that are not commonly found in local schools. Can you talk me through what your approach is with the curriculum and co-curriculum activities so that it best serves your students' needs?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So as I said, when we started out, we looked more at the education deficit that the country is facing. So South Africa's basically been in this education crisis for decades now. And it's one where we've got language inequality. So most teachers in South Africa are teaching subjects in a second language. They're not teaching subjects in their mother tongue language. And most children are learning subjects in a second language. So that being English, right? So most of the children in Philippi, they grow up immersed in their mother tongue, which is Xhosa. And many of them don't go to preschools, they go to creches instead, where there's not a lot of teaching going on. And some of them come to grade 1, and many of them have not had much experience in English. So when we set out, it was we're going to really push hard on, attacking this language deficit, just pushing English really hard. And then also numeracy, numerical literacy, and maths. So we set out to be sort of an English and maths focused school. And we've had a lot of success, especially in maths, because we adopted the Singapore maths system, which is a couple of schools are doing it in South Africa. And when I heard about it, I thought, no, this sounds great, with the sort of CPA approach, concrete, pictorial, abstract, where children experience maths, with their senses. And it's really been a huge success. And also in terms of how it's being taught, our teachers have loved teaching it. As we grew and as we developed as a school, we realized also that wellness is going to be equally fortifying for these children growing into adulthood. So can we provide them with all the opportunities of a childhood that children deserve? Sporting, camps, outings, hikes, all that kind of stuff has now become as important, if not more, because a happy childhood can really fortify someone for the challenges of adulthood.
I'm interested to understand the teaching staff that you employ at the school. Do you look to employ local teachers who know the students and know their circumstances? Or do you look to bring in teachers who are strong with English language skills? Or do you try and find like a happy medium between both of those?
Thank you for that question. It's a very interesting question. What I tend to find is that local, teachers that have grown up in similar communities can be a lot more understanding of the challenges that the children face, and can be supportive in ways that you can't quite gauge, but that really make a huge difference. So, and also the commitment of teachers from a similar area is a lot stronger, I find, because they can relate more to the struggles and the pressures on the children. And there's a resilience and a toughness because their own communities are unsafe. And so they don't get too squeamish when there's gunshots and, we have to take cover and, things like that. So that, I tend to find there's more reliability and there's more trust and we can do more together when it's locally based teachers. But then, of course, with the language inequality, I'm a big believer in immersion as a way of advancing, language acquisition. So bringing in someone whose mother tongue is English also is an enormous advantage because that person's just entirely engaging in English, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And that rubs off on the children very, very well. So I try to get a balance. But in my past experiences, we've had some star sort of marquee signings from the city. But as soon as they saw a dead body, they handed in their resignation letter. So,
okay. So you just mentioned some fairly serious security issues there. Is that something that has an impact on your recruitment for teachers? And how do those of you who are there already, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so it's something that's, keeps me up at night and all of my colleagues. It's not normal for even South African schools. It's not normal to hear gunshots regularly or to see dead bodies. So, and even in other townships, you'll meet people from other townships who say, "Oh, you work in Philippi? I never go to Philippi. You're crazy to work there." And Philippi has a reputation as the most violent township in South Africa. And in fact, when they release the crime statistics, Philippi's always number one or number two for murders. And so, it's not normal even for a South African teacher. And it's definitely not, I completely understand anyone who says to me, "I love this place, but I feel too unsafe." Completely understand that. We do have a very, very strong perimeter fence, and we've got 24-hour security guards, but they are also from the community. They live next door, across the road, and they seem to be respected within the community. And they're manning the gate all day long. We don't allow people in. Even parents are not allowed in. So everything is by appointment only. And we consult with security companies regularly and ask them to just give us information or intelligence. But really, the best way to stay safe is to speak to the children and to speak to those colleagues who live in the area, because they know what's going on and they know what's coming. And we've actually had quite a few disastrous situations averted thanks to just discussions in the classroom with the children, because the gangsters live on their street. So they're very finely attuned to who's been shot and what's going to happen next and what people are saying. And it's quite, there's something quite special about the way we look out for each other. And how strong a part the children actually play.
I guess the children there have a sense of when tensions might be elevated in the area, or if there's a sense that trouble might be brewing. So how do you as a leader use that information to help keep your community safe?
We've shut the school down for a day based on information given to us by the children. We've got WhatsApp groups for those who drive to school, and because there's one very sort of low level but very pervasive type of crime is carjacking. So it's people throwing stones at your car to get your laptop and your phone. And the practitioners are 12, 13-year-old children. So, our children know these children, and they'll tell us, look, that they're going to be at the robots this morning, so maybe you want to tell your colleagues to come a little bit later. And, we just work day by day, consulting with one another and looking out for one another as best we can. Yeah.
you've been there since the beginning of the school, so you must be a fairly special person to be so committed to the school and its families in what can be a very difficult and at times dangerous environment. Can I ask you, what drew you to the job and what keeps you there?
Well, thanks. Those are kind words, Gavin. I think being a history teacher by background and teaching for many years, teaching apartheid in leafier suburbs in private schools, and always just feeling that there was somewhere else that I should be teaching. I was always very aware of the education, the legacy problems in education that come from apartheid, and so there was always something knocking in the back of my head that I should be teaching in schools that need teachers more than the schools that I was teaching in. So when I was offered this role, it was at a perfect time because there was this nagging in my mind. And then when you build a school with almost figuratively speaking, with your hands, you don't want to see it ruined by gangsters and criminals. So you become very invested in it, and I think that's what's just kept me going. Is I've put so much work into it, and my colleagues, and we're a family, and I think that's what keeps us all there. Is we love what we do, and we love the space, and our children love the space, and it's a special, very, very special place. When visitors visit, they're really moved by just the vibes and the feeling of being in that space. Yeah. So it's quite easy to stay there for me.
To live in this condition, you need to see the brighter side of life, because you don't want to live for always like this. You want to be in some place where it's much better than this. Just to see the light, to breathe fresh air in the morning, for me, that is the best thing that can ever happen to you, because you can still walk, you can still see, and if that wasn't there, then I could complain much more, but at least I got something.
Now, we focused on the challenges so far, but I'm sure there's lots of positive and wonderful things happening at the school all the time. So could you share with me perhaps a story of a student who's done really well and has experienced success at school?
Okay, I think we had a child who joined from the beginning, grade 1, and always distinguished herself in her ability in all of her subjects, and was someone that we always thought is destined for something amazing. But she had a very difficult family situation, and her mother was struggling with debts and was sometimes on the run, so was sometimes not home, and was leaving this girl to look after the family. They had to move to an informal settlement, which is notorious in Philippi, and they were living there, which is a very, very dangerous place. And then, at one point, the mother said, I'm going to have to remove her from your school because we can't pay the school fees. Now, our school fees are nominal. They really are nominal. It's you're looking at about 15 euros a month, and we pay for everything: uniform, textbooks, stationery, food. We do breakfast and lunch. Everything's covered, but that's a nominal monthly. So she wanted to take the child out. We said, no, please let her stay with us, and we'll do our best to see what we can do for high school. And we got in contact with Oprah Winfrey School, which is an IB school. I think, Evan, you're at an IB school.
Yep, that's right.
And the Oprah Winfrey School, which Oprah Winfrey began, which is for girls from underprivileged backgrounds. And it's an amazing school. Just absolutely everything is catered for. The children are flown there for the start of term from wherever they are in the country. And it's a very exhaustive application process. And she got in, and she's now doing very well there. She gives us regular updates. She's doing very well in her subjects. And so we're very happy about that, because we were worried about her talent versus the precariousness of her situation. Now she's in a boarding school and she's got all the support that she needs, psychosocial support. And I think graduates from Oprah Winfrey tend to do very, very well.
Amazing. Well done. I wish her all the very best. We've spoken a lot about the community. Does the school look to give back to it as well?
Sure. We used to do things like inviting people from the community to the school and having an open day. But obviously with safety issues, we tend now to go out rather than have people come in. But one thing that's been very successful, and it was suggested by a child, was to sing for an old age home, to sing for residents of an old age home. So we did this, and one of the old age homes called us back, and they were quite persistent in wanting us to come back. And so now we've got this regular slot where we take our children and they sing and do little sort of class, like the kind of class presentation that you might do in assembly. They do that at the old age home. And further to that, what I've realized is how talented we are in expressing ourselves and in cultural expression, song, dance, presentations. So we've done a few tours of other schools in the city. And what I liked about this initiative is it kind of inverted the concept of service the way I had experienced it coming from previous schools. I was part of a Round Square initiative where service was very much about the privileged group doing something for a community. And what this has made me realize is that sometimes the privileged group should actually be entertained and wowed by the community rather than trying to serve. Just sit and be entertained and wowed, because that does a lot for the people that are wowing you.
Wonderful. I'm sure that your students love getting out there and showing others their talents. Being so heavily involved in the neighbourhood and its people, does the school make a difference to the lives of any of the adults who are associated with or working at the school?
Because we're a community centre, we also employ a lot of adults in various roles. Some of them, volunteers. Some of them will do maybe homework with children in the afternoons, sit down with them and help them with their homework, or some will be marshals at sports events. So, there's a lot of adults, unemployed adults from the community who come to us and we see what we can do. But we had one individual who joined many years ago as a volunteer in the soup kitchen, and then she got absorbed into a class for children who are undocumented. So we still have this class in our community center. It's children that we find on the street. They don't know much about school. Their parents are disorganized. Sometimes it's very precarious at home. They don't have birth certificates and IDs. They can't go to school. So they come to us for a year, and in that year we find them a birth certificate. We help them to get a birth certificate and ID so that they can then be absorbed into proper schooling. So she was working in that classroom, and we identified her natural ability as a teacher, and then we supported her journey in a teaching degree. And now she's our grade 3 teacher in the primary school, and one of our best teachers for sure. She's doing very, very well. Grade 3 is quite an important year where we do national benchmark testing. And her classes, every year her classes are well above the national benchmark. And so we're very pleased. And it's an example of how we work as a community center, trying our very best for those in the community to see them advance also with their goals.
Men and women all over the world come and go. Some leave nothing behind, not even their name. Others do leave something behind. Their task in life is one: That is to improve the living conditions of the people amongst whom they live. They are the men and women who wants to put sunshine in the hearts of the poorest of the poor. Our youth are the most important national asset that we have. It is for that reason that we should give them the opportunity to advance.
What do you think is the thing that students or former students value the most about the school?
Well, I think that many people who've passed through our community center, they tend to stay. So it's, a lot of us, when we remember school, we remember so looking forward to leaving school and not coming back. But we have a lot of young adults who've been in our programs, and they just come to be there at the center because they love the space. It's a very safe place to be. And I think there's these relationships, long-serving relationships of trust. There's a kind of institutional dynamic there that's very solid, very secure. And so I think that we've built something that people can rely on, that is solid and trustworthy. And I think for our children, when they leave us and become young adults, and then I think the values of our center and the relationship building and the support and just the kindness to one another, I think that's going to give them coping strategies and will allow them to navigate difficult adolescence and difficult adulthood challenges, knowing of course that we're always going to be there and that they can always come back and visit us and hang out. Yeah.
What's your vision for the next steps and future of iThemba Labantu Primary School?
Since we've just reached grade 9, and I think that's where we're going to cap the school at grade 9, for the next couple of years, I'd really like us to just consolidate what we've built and just make it perform at the highest level we can, and just make everything that we're doing, make sure we're doing it better. But we do, in the long term, we do have this distant dream of building a boarding school outside of Philippi, because ultimately, no matter how talented you are, if you are always looking over your shoulder, so to speak, in a community like Philippi, it's quite difficult to flourish and to really just focus on learning and being a child. So I think that sort of one weakness we have is that we when the children finish grade 9, they're going to go into the catchment for high school. So they're going to go into these high schools where it's 60, 70 children in a class, and where there's a lot of gangsterism among children and all sorts of threatening possibilities. So if we could build a boarding school one day outside of Philippi, outside of Cape Town, because we've got buses, it's not impossible. It's from a feasibility point of view, if we've got good support, then our children would go from our primary school into a boarding school, and there they could be completely free to learn without feeling unsafe and threatened. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your school story with us. But I'm really interested to know what you have learnt as a person and as a leader working with the people in that community.
I think what I've learned from the school community, I think I've learned a lot about coming from a different cultural background. What I've learned is that I've got more to learn than to teach, I think. So a very strong cultural identity, which is extremely powerful, and one learns to harness that or draw from that as as a way of building your school. And it's a massive strength that we have compared to other schools. There's a collective identity that comes from a common cultural background, which is very, very strong sense of self, and an ability to express oneself, which is very powerful. So yeah, I think the thing I've learned the most is to learn and then do, rather than to come in there and instruct.
As we draw to a close, what is your hope for the students and people of Philippi?
Well, my hope for the people, it's just quite basic stuff, really. Just a safer community. So less crime, allowing people to flourish, because there's a lot of talent and there's a lot of excellence that's waiting to be developed. And it's just if the city can address the problems of safety, people will flourish, and that's just really what I hope for, not just for our children, but for the community of Philippi.
Thank you so much, Octavius, for sharing the story of your school with me. It's been an absolute privilege to talk with you, and I have so much respect for what you and all of your colleagues are doing there for the people of Philippi. I wish you all the very best in the future.
Gavin, thanks very much. It was an absolute pleasure.
Next time on the Global Ed Podcast.
The overall psychological distress among children is alarming. We always focus on the psychosocial support part, because we know that a scared child or a distressed child would not be able to learn.
In the next episode, I speak with Marwa Al-Shakwai, who works for the Norwegian Refugee Council in Syria. Marwa shares what life is like for the children of Homs and how she is working to build teacher capacity for dealing with the psychosocial needs of the children living there. If you have enjoyed listening to the Global Ed podcast, please subscribe and follow me, Gavin Kinch, on LinkedIn.